And don't worry if we like anything happens, we'll just edit it. It's no
Oh,
big
you're
deal.
fine.
Okay, so welcome. I have Rachel here, and I've been chatting with her before I started recording, and we just will not stop talking. So we're going to go ahead and get started. She is a all things motherhood photographer in St. Pete or Clearwater, right?
I'm actually in the like Riverview Brandon area.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Closer to
But
me.
oh yeah, Tampa Bay, yeah.
We're all Tampa. We're all
Yeah.
Tampa. But yes, so I'm so excited to have her here with us. We're going to do a mini coaching with Rachel today, and I'm actually going to read what she submitted for this coaching call so that we can kind of get on track here. So let's see, it says, I am in a huge transitional phase in both my business and personally. I have been embarking on an inner healing journey and connecting with my spirituality, and despite all of my efforts, still feel very stuck. I have chronically suffered from anxiety and have severe ADHD as well as PTSD from childhood that I navigate daily while also being a single mom, running a six-figure business. I am super receptive and open to feedback and acknowledgement where I am struggling and trusting those who have more expertise in those areas. Ah, let's just take a breath right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So I am really excited to
I'm
tackle.
excited too. Yeah.
It's is there anything you want to add to that? Or does that feel pretty well-rounded for what you
Yeah.
want to
So like we were kind of chatting before, so I, separated about 2 years ago, and that was a huge, obviously personal pivotal shift for me, but also business, going from, I was basically a stay-at-home mom, work doing part-time to now having to, be a, sole income or, providing for myself. And, also that just, it really pulled that rug up under me and forced me to really embark on this journey. It was kind of, the biggest blessing, but also kind of pushed me into it without necessarily me being 100% ready. But I do believe, everything happened for a reason. So then about a year ago, I really, like I told you, like made an active conscious decision. Like, I just am so sick of feeling this way. I've got to, make some changes. I need to figure it out because I just like envisioning living the rest of my life like that was just not an option. So, I have been doing various things, but like we were mentioning, I've found myself being so frustrated with, and it really hasn't been that long in the scheme of like rewiring your brain and, all the neural pathways, I mean, I have 33 years of that, but it's that conscious awareness now of it. And so it's like a daily conscious decision, but I'm really excited because I've never done something quite like this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that pretty much,
I
covers
mean,
my.
yeah, I love that. And I have to say that a lot of people who end up doing a session like this, it's because they just feel stuck still.
Mm.
And I talk about it a lot where we can add in all these things and we could do our affirmations and we can make sure our day is balanced and we can, have time for ourselves and still feel like a great mom or whatever. But if we can't also cleanse those things that were already there, it
Mhm.
does kind of leave us hanging. Like we can't ever really fully reach the best of our abilities if we can't also, I call detox the mind. So, so yeah, I absolutely think that we can help you today. And um, I want to actually ask you a question because as we were talking, you said that since we were dealing with a lot of nervous system
Mhm.
dysregulation, and that
Yeah.
that's a common theme, and it's probably what you're used to more so than not.
Yes.
And you mentioned 12-year-old. So is there anything that you can share with me about that
Mhm.
time in your life that we can maybe, because if we can get down to the root of it, we can
Yeah.
clear that.
So I actually, fortunately through hypnotherapy, I've been able to kind of uncover, so a few things. When I was, around 6, we moved from, a city type situation to literally 20 acres, secluded in the middle of nowhere in North Florida. Knew no one, nothing. And obviously that was a huge adjustment. And then around, we're pretty sure around 7 or 8, I was molested by one of my dad's best friends, who was actually a woman who was our next door neighbor. Did not at the time necessarily realize, wasn't conscious of it, obviously being a child. And it wasn't until much later in adulthood, when I started working as a victim advocate, that I even realized that it had happened. So I did do, quite a bit of processing and healing around that, a while ago. I'd say about 10 years ago. Kind of thought, oh yeah, like I processed through it, I'm good. But then as I have embarked on this, I've realized, so around that age, as I was coming into like my pre-teen age, finding my voice or trying to find my voice and my place. My dad, who has passed away about 10 years ago, but he was an alcoholic. And so a lot of stuff around that with my childhood. But this friend of his was also a severe alcoholic, and they were, very enabling with each other. And she would actually come to our house. Like I said, we were next door neighbors. And she would come to our home and be there with him drinking and hanging out. And, I remember being like around that age and just not realizing necessarily why I felt so unsafe every time she was there. But I just was, it was panic. It was a trauma response. I was having panic attacks. I was, every time I would see her and she was there, I was just in this state of fight or flight. And I didn't understand at the time why it was so severe. But like I distinctly, like I said, through hypnotherapy, can even was able to uncover some memories of, being in my bedroom, and I could see out and just in full panic and frozen. And so around that age is when I, tried to stand up for myself and with my parents, and they didn't understand the severity, again, because I didn't share with them
Mm-hmm.
what had happened. But I did try to express, like, I'm not comfortable with her here. She was very nasty, very vulgar, and just I was an easy target, and she knew what she had done, and I think was also just scared of me too, so it was just not a healthy situation. And every time I would try and express that, it was not met and not addressed. And at the,
Okay.
now I've really struggled with that, because I imagining my child in that situation and saying, hey, this person is here, I'm not comfortable, I don't feel safe, and not really taking it and being like, okay, then they're never allowed here again. So she was continually allowed to basically be at our home. And so I was never felt safe. I never felt safe. I never knew when she would just show up unannounced. She would just, be there constantly. And so that feeling of unsafeness just started very early. And I didn't have the skills or the ability to really understand. I wasn't, sharing it with my parents. So it just became normalized for me. But she was definitely a huge catalyst. And around that age is when it got really, I started standing up for myself, and I would go out there and be like, can you please leave? And she would just, like I said, she was drunk and vulgar. I mean, it was just not a good situation. And like I said, as a parent, I look back and now it's just, my mom and I, like I said, my dad is no longer alive, but my mom and I have had to have some conversations of just like, but she was also dealing with some serious chronic health issues that caused her, basically, she was in bed for 4 years during that time. So she doesn't even remember. So I was really just by myself. And that has been a common thing too, as I was physically by myself. I mean, like I said, we're on 20 acres. And my parents didn't have friends, they didn't have family close by. So I was physically isolated, but also felt just incredibly unsafe. So there was nowhere. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I've, done some inner healing child work with that. But I think that emotional dysregulation just, it was constant. Like I said, there was not like, oh, I saw her once and then I didn't have to see her again. It was, she would just come over. And there was a point, I think I was around 13, where my dad kind of got to the point where he was like, I'm sorry, my tongue. He was like, please stop coming over. So then she knew when I would be there home alone from school. So she would just come and like sit on, our porch because she knew I was there. And then I couldn't go outside. I was stuck. It's before cell phones, it's before it was just, yeah, it was a really awful situation.
Yeah, there's a lot of red flags there.
Yes, it was very alarming. And then she did end up dying when I was about 14. And I remember that was a really pivotal thing for me because I felt like finally, it was over. But then the guilt of like being happy that someone died, at 14, was like a really a weird thing to process. I was glad because I knew like she couldn't be there anymore.
Right.
But I still hadn't really come to terms with why I was so angry at her and why I felt the way I felt. So I felt happy for her death. And then that was a really weird, hard thing to process, especially at that age when you're like, you know, starting to just figure out your life. So yeah, that time frame is when it really started. And I was sharing with you, I think, well, I know my baseline just became so normalized for me. I think, although obviously everyone feels it differently, but I'm pretty sure my baseline has been like an 8 or 9, what most people would say, like just a constant, almost panic attack, but it just became so normal. I started some unhealthy coping. Every morning I would wake up and throw up as like a release.
Mhm.
Um, from the anxiety. I was suffering from insomnia. I was suffering and I was still doing amazing. I was definitely the epitome of the kid that flew under the radar. My parents had no idea. My teachers had no idea. I was, the perfect kid. I never caused any trouble. I still was in extracurricular activities. I was always high achieving. I was always, scoring the highest test scores. So nobody really, and part of that was the ADHD and part of that was just I'm just, that person. And so it just all stayed inside. It just like none of my friends knew. I just was secretly dealing with this internal dysregulation constantly
Yeah.
for pretty much until, like I said, the first time I even started that, even approaching any type of healing journey was about 10 years ago when I became an advocate. Well, actually, it was more than that, but I really still didn't fully, get to
Yeah,
that point.
I mean, when you talk about, and this happens a lot, like people obviously they're trying to heal all the time. We don't even think about it, but we're trying to get better. We're trying to feel better. We're trying to be happy, right? We want to have joy in our lives. We don't want to be anxiety filled all the time. We don't want to second guess ourselves and all of these things. And so we start that healing journey and we feel better about situations, but sometimes we have these leftover thoughts that
Mhm.
are stuck in our bodies. And a lot of times with them, is some unpleasant emotions, right? It's the best way to describe it. And so I can tell while you're talking about this that there's still some things there that we
Yeah.
can get rid of.
Yeah.
But the good news is we get to just like breathe them out and
Yeah.
move on. But yeah, I mean, it's absolutely a lot of stuff here that I can tell. It was a long time to be dealing with all of that. And so, that's why it just would re-traumatize you and just leave you kind of feeling not great all the time. Did you say you're a 3-5? Or
Yes, I'm a emotional projector 3-5, which I just recently started learning about human design and has been super. I would like to even learn more about it, but it's so fascinating and has taught me so much about myself and so much makes sense. I, definitely like I have a lot of channels and gates that really make sense for me, including guilt. And
yeah, we're
that's one of
definitely
my big one. And that's definitely one that I am struggling with for sure. And so it has helped me to kind of normalize how I feel, but it doesn't necessarily take it away, right? You're still feeling
No,
that way.
I mean, I
Um,
don't consider it its own modality. Just being
right.
someone that has certifications in certain modalities that help people with these things, I don't consider it that, but I do think it's very insightful, especially for
Yeah.
people who are blocked in a
Yeah.
lot of ways. Just looking for how do I set up my day, to make more sense for me and have the energy and
Yeah.
whatnot.
So that's what I'm
Um,
learning to do is my
but
business.
that three line for sure
Mhm.
sounds pretty accurate for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we're actually gonna get started with some of
Okay.
this. I've written down a few things that you said that felt like they were heavier.
Yeah.
So we still kind of trapped in there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna walk you through this because I know you haven't done this before.
Yeah.
I am going to ask you to take a deep breath in and hold. I'm
Okay.
gonna say a statement and I want you to just think it
Okay.
and then you'll just pull it out.
Okay.
So I'm gonna do a lot of talking. You're gonna be breathing.
Okay. That works. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and just know, like you mentioned earlier, the throwing up, that's a release. Yeah, our body has all these releases. Yawning is going to be normal. Burping is normal. Sorry, two
Hmm.
teeth, that's totally normal. Like, just breathe it
Yeah.
out, let it go, and sometimes there's some tears too.
Hmm.
Uh, that's just how it works. It
Yeah.
does feel better afterwards. Okay, this isn't
Yeah.
something that will leave you upset all day. Absolutely not. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm actually going to start with there's this thing that comes up that's a lot of these are thoughts over and over again in our head. And there's one that comes up with you that says when I was 12. So it's like you retelling the story all the time and feeling it just kind of gets stuck there. So we're actually going to start with that. Let's see here. When I was 12. Okay, so are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So
I'm
I
already
shall
like
go.
welling the tear. It's interesting because I've
Yeah,
found
because that's how it works.
I knew I had this morning. And so yesterday and like last night, I could barely sleep. Like I was really unsettled. And I found like with my hypnotherapy sessions, when I know I have one on the drive there, I start crying. I'm not a crier, but I tend to cry during hypnotherapy and I'll start crying like just on the way my body is just like ready. So
You're so ready
yeah,
to
I
heal,
feel it like already. I'm
release
like
this
already welling
stuff.
the tears.
You just have to make an appointment.
I know, right?
Yeah, no, but it's pretty typical actually. And it's the best time to do some healing is when you're that ready. So,
Yeah.
okay, let's go ahead and get started. So go ahead and breathe in and hold. I release all anger with when I was 12. Good. Breathe in and hold. I release all confusion with when I was 12. Good. Breathe in. I release all dread with when I was 12. Good. Breathe in. I release all terror with when I was 12. Good. Breathe in. I release all blocks with open with when I was 12. Good job. Breathe in. I release all anxiety with I don't like this. Breathe in. I release all disbelief with I don't like this. Good. Breathe in. I release all hopelessness with I don't like this. Good. Breathe in. I release all nervousness with I don't like this. Good. Breathe in. I release all shame with I don't like this. Good. Breathe in. I release all blocks with calm with I don't like this. There we go. That's a good release. Let me check everything else here. Breathe in. I release all blocks with trust, with I don't like this. Breathe in. I release all annoyance with it's not safe. Breathe in. I release all embarrassment with it's not safe. Breathe in. I release all nervousness with it's not safe. Breathe in. I release all stress with it's not safe. Good. Breathe in. I release all blocks with giving with it's not safe. Breathe in. I release all blocks with trust with it's not safe. Breathe in. I release all anger with by myself. Breathe in. I release all cynicism with by myself. Good. Breathe in. I release all hurt with by myself. Good job. Breathe in. I release all shame with by myself. Breathe in. I release all blocks with letting go with by myself. Good. They aren't listening. Breathe in and hold. I release all anger with they aren't listening. Good. Breathe in. I release all hurt with they aren't listening. Good job. Breathe in. I release all sorrow with they aren't listening. Good job. Okay, breathe in. I release all stress with they aren't listening. You're doing good. Okay. Breathe in. I release all blocks with faith with they aren't listening. Okay, breathe in and hold. I release all blocks with nourishment, with they aren't listening. Just check. Breathe in and breathe out. There's one more I'm missing on this one. Breathe in and hold. I release all rage with they aren't listening. Good. Okay, we're gonna do one more. Breathe in and hold. I release all disappointment with they don't care. Breathe in. I release all grief with they don't care. Good job. Breathe in and hold. I release all pain with they don't care. Good job. Breathe in and hold. I release all blocks with happiness with they don't care. Good. Breathe in and hold. I release all blocks with safe with they don't care. Okay, breathe in and hold. I release all positive and negative emotional blocks with they don't care. Good. Breathe in and hold. I release all positive and negative emotional blocks with guilt. Good job. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do a fill up. So it's like more of a positive thing just to kind of fill our cup with something that's better after we've released some things that are not so great. So let's go ahead and do that. So this is going to be like a little bit longer. So we need like a really good breath. Okay. Okay, so breathe in and hold. I am so happy and so thankful. I allow myself to trust fully in my journey. Good job. Let's do one more, okay? Breathe in and hold. I am so happy and so thankful. I am open to receiving more than I can imagine in all areas of my life. Good job.